So all those things compound to staying stagnant and not moving the needle forward. And what happens whenever that happens? We end up in that place where procrastination becomes more prominent. We don't have any confidence left because we're not getting clients. And it puts you into this downward spiral where you just want to quit or give up. But the reality is there's so many things you can do just layer the action steps to be intentional to get to the point of where you can easily attract clients.
Welcome back to the Balance Boldly podcast for ambitious women in business and a few brave men. I'm your host, Naketa Ren Thigpen. Super excited to be back with you in the house today. Woo! All right. We are coming to the edge. This is the edge of Stress Awareness Month. This is aware of all things selfish behavior. Aware. Did you hear me say that? You do have to be aware of all things selfish behavior, right? Because that keeps your stress lower and you relieved. I didn't mean to say that. That was a Freudian slip, but we're going to work with it anyway, people, because if you've been listening to the Balance Boldly podcast, you know I'm full of Naketa-isms. I literally make up words and I don't apologize for it. So ride with me all the way there. We are going to have fun today. I am super excited to bring this brilliant beauty to you. Woo! Let me introduce this ambitious woman. She's an award-winning photographer, wife, mom to 3, woman of faith, and passionate about serving others. Meet Dr. Robyn Graham, certified brand marketing strategist, business coach, and branding photographer. Dr. Robyn has designed a way to pour the best pieces of her talent, skills, and gifts into the scope of work she provides her clients as she helps them get clarity and connect confidently to their second phase of greatness. Dr. Robyn, welcome to the Balance Boldly podcast. How are you today?
I am wonderful. Thank you for that beautiful introduction, and I'm honored to be here. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. I am excited to have you. You know, I have been literally digitally stalking you for at least 3 to 6 months at this point. Like I can't even keep up because of this COVID life. You have beautiful images, beautiful work that you're doing for people and for yourself. And I really appreciate that you are a product of your product, that your brand reflects what you do for other women and or men, because I know that you have, a collective of clients. And I would love for you to share just a little bit about what's pulling you forth in the world these days.
Well, you kind of mentioned it as you read my bio, but I love to serve other people. And what makes me the happiest is when I can see that I have helped someone else find confidence and feel beautiful. And, I do that through my photography work, which is, kind of easy to do. I help people relax and really feel truly beautiful when they see the final products. But what I really, really, really love is coaching and helping people find that second phase in their career journey, whether they're leaving corporate or moving from being a stay-at-home mom to entrepreneurship, whatever the case may be, but helping them navigate that, find their ideal audience, their niche, and really build that confidence to launch a business through building a strong personal brand that's going to give them long-term success. There are so many things that, starting a business, as you know, there's so many things that you have to do. But if you don't build a solid foundation up front, you're not going to have long-term success because you're just going to constantly be chasing after things. And we have so many influences now with social media and all of this online digital feedback that we're getting every single day, all day, this, do that. And people end up spending so much time, energy, and money investing in products and services that they really don't need. And so I'm on a mission to help people build a personal brand and launch their businesses without going through all that overwhelm and frustration and stress.
I love that you say that, because when I think about my own journey, moving from one phase of my career as a psychotherapist and trauma specialist and all those hats that I wore into entrepreneurship, there was a lot of stress that came with that. To all of the points that you just mentioned, just not really understanding how to prioritize what really needs to happen in the business as an entrepreneur, front facing to your quote unquote audience, your clients, your customers, whatever you call them, and behind the scenes. And we wasted a lot of energy, a lot of resources, a lot of stressful moments that weren't necessarily good for us in those, because stress can be good if it's the good stress, like you're working on a degree, you're working on completing a project, like there's good stresses. But then that distress that's happening when you are vexing because you really don't know, what comes after A, like you're like ADF in terms of software that you invest in, GIZ in terms of like, what are you supposed to invest in next? The marketing, the sales, the strategy, your VA, like, what are you doing? And the fact that you're helping people with that, not just behind the scenes, like in their business, helping them get clarity and, to your point, the confidence to really go out and do their work. But then once they've tapped in and said, oh, you're like, I'm good. Like, I know my skill. I know how to do this. There is a huge fear that I've seen across the entrepreneurial landscape of people saying, but yeah, but now I don't know how to share this message. Like, how do I show up on Instagram? How do I show up on LinkedIn, or LinkedIn versus Instagram? How about that? Like, the different parts of their brands. I would love for you to speak about some of the experiences that you've seen just with your clients and some of the challenges that they're coming to you with, especially when they've been high level professionals before they transitioned into the second phase, and then they're doubting their ability to show up fully as an entrepreneur with their own, shingle hanging over their head, so to speak.
Yeah, oh my gosh, there's so many examples, and I'm going to give you a couple. But so one client that I'm working with right now, and this is something that I see a lot, is that she hired people to help her. She hired other coaches, right? And she thought she was doing the right thing. So she hired someone to help with A, someone to help with B, someone to help with C, and she spent thousands of dollars investing in all of this. And she went nowhere because the groundwork had not been laid before all these people convinced her that she needed their help. And this happens time and time again. So she invested in funnels, she invested in a LinkedIn person, she invested in, a coach, but the foundation had not been laid. She didn't have a website with solid SEO. She didn't have a personal brand that she could market. She didn't have clear messaging for products and her services that she was offering. So all those things compound to staying stagnant and not moving the needle forward. And what happens whenever that happens? We end up in that place where procrastination becomes more prominent. And we don't have any confidence left because we're not getting clients. And it puts you into this downward spiral where you just want to quit or give up. But the reality is there's so many things you can do just layer the action steps to be intentional to get to the point of where you can easily attract clients. Yeah. And another person, she was in corporate, but then she left that to be a stay-at-home mom. And this is common. She was an older mom. She had her baby. She wanted to be hands-on, and it happened that her company transitioned her out of her role, so it was perfect timing, right? Stay-at-home mom. So she did that. And then she wanted to become a home stager. Well, that's great, but she had no idea where to start. It was in her late 50s. She didn't know social media. She didn't know where to begin or what platforms to be on. She didn't know how to create her own website. And so we did all of that for her and just basically handed her this beautiful brand in a box, per se. But when that happens, you still have to know how to use it, what to do with it, how to put yourself out there. And there are so many little questions like Pinterest marketing, email marketing, beyond social media. And where are you going to get the most bang for your buck? Where are your ideal clients hanging out? And sometimes we think we know the answers to those questions, but we need someone else to give us their perspective, just to give us another idea, another insight, so that we can see it from an above ground picture, so that we can see the whole picture, not just little pieces, but see how they can be interwoven to get the most, quote unquote, bang for our buck.
Yeah, no, that eagle view is what I like. I'm really visual, so I'm picturing like that eagle view for what you're saying. Now, here's something that comes up, and I'm sure you've seen this with your clients, maybe even with yourself, especially for a lot of the people that you're working with that are, I call them careerpreneurs, that have professional backgrounds and an entrepreneurial spirit. They kind of show up as analytical creatives, which looks very different than the kind of quote unquote traditional creative that paints and draws and does that, because they have this huge analytical brain, which I know you have too, which is where your strategist and your coaching ability comes from. But when you have that type of person, sometimes when they're crossing over and really getting into this new way of being, that the embracing of that being means exposing some of their flaws. So if they never were photographic in their mind, right? And now their brand, their new self, especially in today's market where people want personability and all that kind of good stuff to relate to you, and they just don't want to see like a hard logo. They want to see the people behind the brand. If you're not used to that, because you used to work in a lab or you used to work in a cubby or in an office and you had people for that, people to, go out and shake hands and kiss babies type of things. And now you're the person that has to do it. And I meet Dr. Robyn in my life and I see like this amazing, framing of your business, and you take all these super charismatic pictures and just all of it, like it's all laid out so well, which makes sense because you're an artist as well. But then I look at me as this person that I'm talking about, and I'm like, but I don't think I'll come off on camera like that. And then I start to shrink back, and I'm not doing the live videos. I'm not doing the engagement with the audience because I don't like, I'm comparing myself, a little bit of imposter syndrome, and not feeling like I'm good enough to look like a Dr. Robyn, right? Like, across my brand. And then that pulls me back and makes me shrink in my business. Have you seen that too?
Oh my gosh, all the time. And where I was going with that second client that I was going to tell you about is that fear really set in deeply because, first of all, if you don't know a platform, you're not going to be comfortable being on that platform. But then you have that fear, and the fear and I guess the avoidance factor of being vulnerable. People don't want to be vulnerable. When you're an entrepreneur, you have to be vulnerable. You have to accept vulnerability. And you have to overcome fear. And sometimes it is baby steps. It's teeny tiny little action steps, one action step at a time that you're taking intentionally to be able to get over that fear. And it's not easy. It's not easy. But this is why I think every single human who goes down this route has to surround themselves with other people who can help them, who can guide them, who can ask them those hard questions and push them out of their comfort zone, because it's so easy, especially when we're stressed or overwhelmed, to stay where we know we're comfortable versus stepping outside that box, becoming vulnerable, overcoming fear, and putting ourselves out there. And let me tell you something. I was terrified of public speaking. When I had to present my doctoral project, I literally quit. I quit first time around because I could not do that presentation. I was that terrified. I went back and I did it and I finished it. And my daddy was in the front row of that auditorium when I did it to give me moral support. But I used to be that terrified. Now, you tell me to do a video, I'm going to do a quick video. You tell me to get on the stage and speak. And I love it because I know now that my passion can fuel me and help me serve other people. And I don't have to think about, what if I say the wrong thing? Oh, I have to memorize this script. And what if I mess up? I don't do any of that now. And so it's really a process to learn, but having someone in your back pocket to coach you, to guide you, to support you, to hold you accountable, that becomes so key for overcoming fear and really stepping into vulnerability to move yourself forward.
I completely agree. What would you say to everyone listening, those ambitious women in business and those few brave men that are tuning in today and sharing, subscribing, and making sure that other people in your network have this episode? Okay, small plug. But what would you say to those people who are looking at their, friends and their family and their networking thinking, I don't have anyone like that that's near me, next to me, in proximity that I really trust with my vulnerability to share. Like, yep, I have family, I have friends, we can party together. Well, I'll jump in and do whatever they want, but I don't have that person. And they've never hired a coach before, especially one like you that has multiple gifts to pour in and really give them some holistic help. To your point, the brand in the box, right? Like, you do a lot for your clients, but they're nervous and they're listening like, well, how do I do that? Like, is Dr. Robyn going to judge me if I come saying like, oh, I've been a CXO level person for 20 some years and now I'm transitioning? Because a lot of people's vulnerability is anchored to their past accomplishments, what they feel they have and haven't succeeded, and they don't want to be judged. And I know that you won't judge them. I know that you're going to do a nice intake, an assessment, an audit of their brand, or help them create one from scratch if that's not what they have. but they've never hired a coach before, especially someone like you who really is a visionary. What do you say for those people for taking the first step towards picking up the phone, making that call, going to the website, checking out who they could work with next? Like, how would you encourage them to walk through that?
So the first thing I would do is I would suggest you Google people, Google coaches for the, if you want a life coach, Google life coaches. If you go to Answer the Public, that is a website that I use a lot of times to help me create content so I can answer the questions that people have related to the things that I serve, that I do in my business, how I serve people. So go to Answer the Public and type in, you can do the 3 searches a day for free. Type in life coach. See what
Mm,
questions come up. See what questions that are there that resonate with you, and then Google those questions and see who comes up for you.
like
Who is
this.
presented by Google that you could potentially work with. Now, I'm also going to say, because this is how I tend to do things first, is I pray about it to be led to
Same.
the right person.
That's
I
right.
just
That's
have to
right.
put that plug in because I really depend on that to be guided. So those would be the first 2 things I would do. Once you find that person on Google, start stalking them. Look at them on social media. See if they're authentic. See if you feel like you can trust them. Do they have pictures of themselves that you can not judge their personal appearance, but make a connection with them emotionally by what they're putting out, what their content is. There are so many different examples, but we aren't meant to work with everyone, and not everyone is
Yeah.
meant to solve our problems. And so you really have to find someone that you emotionally connect with and you feel that you can know, love, and trust. And if a coach is doing their job right, they are putting content out that is going to ensure you that you can get to know them, that you can fall in love with them, and you can trust them ultimately. Trust determines buying practices. So, you have to feel like you trust someone. So, literally, just start following them, engage with them, like their content, comment on their social media post, and see what their responses are. Get a feel for how they make you feel in return. If they don't respond to you and they don't seem to appreciate you, then they're not the right fit for you. The other thing is go to their website and really evaluate what their content is. Look for testimonials. What are other people saying about them? What are other people saying as far as what their experiences were, what their results were, and things like that. After you do your homework, you're going to feel like there's a right fit. Now, what's going to happen is you're going to think, "Oh my gosh, I can't afford that. There's no way I
Hmm.
can pay that." Or, "Oh, I don't have time for that." But let me tell you something. If I say that all the time, sorry. If you aren't willing to invest in yourself, who's going to be willing to invest in you? So if you want to start something, start on the right foot.
Yeah.
Start with building that foundation, and then you can move yourself forward. But you can ideas. I just wrote a blog post about this. And the blog post, I think I titled it How to Be or Hire the Best Business Coach. But
Oh, I didn't know this.
yeah,
Okay.
I just
Mhm.
published it last week, but in that blog post, I included ideas that you could fund a coach. So you could sell things that you have sitting around your house that you don't need. You could borrow from a friend or relative. You could um, use a credit card. You could ask if they take payments. Because the fact of the matter is, if you hire a business coach, if you've done your homework about the coach you hire, you're going to have a return on investment. And that return on investment is going to come before your work with that coach even ends. So you will have paid for that coach rather quickly after you invest in them. Now, I can't guarantee that. It depends on who you choose. But if you do your homework and you choose the right person, but the other thing I would say, Naketa, and I'm sure you have experienced this, is there are so many people out there that do the same thing.
Mhm.
And there are so many people out there that are going to tell you that they're making 6 figures and they're going to help you make 6 figures in the next couple of months. Don't believe that nonsense. It's
Right.
not true because they didn't start making 6 figures overnight. It has taken them years. Nobody has success overnight. So don't go into thinking that a coach is going to solve all of your problems, but you want a coach who, number one, is well rounded, number two, is going to help you with not only business decisions, but should you have something personal come up, they'll be there to support you through that as well. But they're going to ask you the really hard questions and they're going to work on mindset. Because if you don't have a positive mindset, our thoughts create our results. And so if you don't have a positive mindset, you're not going to be able to move the needle forward. Likewise, or similarly, if you have a positive mindset, but you're sitting on the couch watching Netflix and not taking action,
Come
you're
on.
nowhere.
Come
So
on.
some of the things that,
I
work with my clients on.
Yeah, no, I love it. And I also love, like, as you were like laying it all out, I was looking at reverse engineering it in terms of how you help your clients. They want to be found, right? Like they want to make sure that they have a brand and business that, to your point, for all the steps working backwards of what you said without repeating everything again. But when they go to the Quora or the answer your questions, what was it called? Answer
Oh,
questions,
answer the public.
answer the public, when they go
Yeah.
to the answer the public and get that, and then they go into Google and they start putting in help with weight loss, or help with life coaching, or help with like all the things that you said, to like just kind of use those questions to pull over, and then other people come up. If that's a service that they offer, they want to make sure that their service and their product and their brand is also coming up. So to your point earlier in the conversation, when you were saying, like, I help people really prioritize what they need to do to move successfully into and through their second phase in their career and in their business, you're also helping them to establish the business and brand that is Googleable. I don't know, is that a word? I just made it up again, but we're going to work with
like
it.
I like it. Let's go with it. I just thought of
Googleable.
something else too, is what I really like is if a coach offers a free discovery call, ultimately it may be considered a sales call. They will probably pitch you at the end of that call, but take advantage of that free call, because the deal is you will get to know how you jive with them, or whether or not you do. And so it's really important to have that opportunity. If somebody is just sliding into your DMs on Instagram saying, hey, I could be your coach and I can help you make six figures, block them.
Exactly.
Like, that's so spammy, sleazy. I don't like that at all. But if they offer a free discovery call, hop on the phone with them, because number one, you have an opportunity to learn something that you could apply in your business. And number two, it's an opportunity to get to know them. And even if they're not the right coach for you, you will have someone else that's in your network now that you could potentially lean on should you have a question later on.
That is so true. Or a subject matter expert that you can refer to, when someone has a question and you're like, oh, I don't do that, but I know this Dr. Robyn, or I know Naketa, let me refer you to those folks.
Yes,
Which
absolutely.
is really good to be a resource. I love this. You're doing a lot of work with people. It's very holistic in what you're offering. So how are you giving yourself permission to pause?
Mm-hmm. So there are a few things that are non-negotiables for me. One is exercise, and two is my morning routine. Three is my bedtime routine.
Yes.
And so, I use those things as my ways to decompress, to eliminate stress, or at least alleviate stress, so that I can function and be creative. But those are things that I absolutely have to do every single day.
Oh, I love all three of them, especially considering this is Stress Awareness Month, moving into Mental Health Awareness Month. All those things help your mental health when you relieve stress in its entirety, but also when you're building a business and a brand that's serving so many people and dealing with the layers of complexity that are underneath all of their individual, for your individual clients, of their businesses. It's really easy to absorb a lot of that stress really fast if you don't have an outlet. So the fact that you put physical activity in there as a part of your tonic for relieving your own personal stress and your own business stress, and making sure that you can show up fully for your family, that matters a lot, because that's, at the end of the day, that's what this is for. So you can be better for everyone that you want to be best for, starting with yourself. So I love that so much. Dr. Robyn, how can people connect with you?
I am the Robyn Graham on just about every platform. That is my website. And I would say my website's probably the very best place to learn more about me and connect with me, because there are a million ways on there that you can schedule a call with me. You can find my social media links there. You can read my blog post. You can find my podcast there. So yeah, therobyngraham.com.
I love this. And please give the name of your podcast, which I love. And I think it's like serendipitous. So
my podcast is called The Second Phase Podcast. And we talk all about business, personal branding, and life strategies for success.
You are a gift. Thank you so much, Dr. Robyn, for showing up and showing out fully right here on the Balance Boldly podcast. We appreciate you.
Well, I appreciate you, and I am super excited to connect with your listeners, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity.
So awesome. Woo! All right, Balance Boldly listeners, what did I tell you? Did I not tell you that she was amazing? Like all of that goodness packaged up in one little package. So ridiculous. And when you see her, when you go to her Instagram and her website, you see it, this little tiny package, and all of that good creative analytical awesomeness is right there in this ambitious woman in business. Make sure that you follow her, and please do go to her podcast. We will have all the links in the show notes below. So any of you that are on your Peloton right now, riding and loving and moving and grooving as you're going in there, we want you to make sure that you can still access everything you need. So all you have to do is pin a little note, make sure that you quote unquote love the podcast, and it'll come back up in your playlist later so you can get to the show notes. So no excuses, folks, no excuses. Per usual, if you have any questions and you want to continue this conversation, we do so right over in the Certified Selfish group on Facebook. The link is below. I appreciate you guys. You show up so well for us. Your emails, your questions, your testimonials, your reviews of the podcast, they matter. So please continue. If you are a first-time listener, make sure you subscribe so you can get the notifications and you won't miss an episode. I appreciate you fully. So go out, be the best person you can be, but remember, in all of your doing, balance boldly.